Will. Where'd you get that funky suit?
Wait, you're British?
You sound surprised.
You know, you think you know a person. Excuse me. I don't know. What? Okay.
You know, we always talk about how do we continue trying to elevate, you know, the show and what new can we bring to Will in his journey that's interesting and hopefully compelling for audiences. Starting season 3, we all thought it's a great way to sort of have him be feeling like he's starting anew. He left the GBI, he's trying to walk away from what happened at the end of season 2, arresting Angie. And so it was kind of cool to not see him in his suit, sort of in casual clothes with a beard, just him and Betty. Obviously, he gets pulled back into the GBI, and you know, we kept talking as the season was progressing about what's a moment that potentially could be something that could affect him for the rest of his life and the arc of this character. And so the shooting that happens in episode 11, which is pretty dramatic, you know, he's chasing a perp, he's fired upon, he fires back, and a stray bullet hits a kid, Marco, and Marco ends up dying in his arms. I mean, it was really heavy. But then you have last week, or yesterday's episode, I almost said last week, but last night's episode, where we see Will, who's joined this kind of cult to try to crack that case, get drugged, and then he has like a whole dance-off episode with the whole cast, and we hear Betty has a voice, and Betty's British. It was, you know, so it's kind of one of the things I love about the show. We can go through different various emotions that are pretty extreme, from something as heavy as watching Will have to deal with the loss of a kid that he shot, and then also go through this trippy episode where he's dancing and trying to find his way through this hallucination. No, that was not improvised. That was properly choreographed and properly rehearsed. Didn't have a ton of time, but we had some amazing choreographers that came in. They also worked with us on a previous episode, so it was great to have them back. And they put together what I thought was a really awesome story of watching Will kind of weirdly feel himself in his body start to move and then start to lose himself. And we wanted to show how in this hallucination, everyone loves Will, even though outside of that hallucination, everyone's really not. They're really upset at him, and he's also struggling with his own self-worth and love. And to have this all come through a dance where he's dancing with Angie and Faith and Amanda comes down. It was, and then he dances with Mary and he dances salsa. It was a really nice escape and a reprieve where we got to kind of, which I think we do try to do often. You know, we'll take our foot off the gas, allow some levity to come in, and hopefully, you know, allow audiences to also enjoy it while not just, you know, dealing with all the realities of what he's dealing with.
Like release the grip just
Release the grip just a little bit, exactly. You know, what's cool is the script had come out, and we were talking about a couple different things during this, knowing this was such a big set piece, this whole dance piece. And someone on set, a PA, Tim, said, you know, what if Betty spoke? He said this to me off the cuff, off the side. And like ideas like that flow, and if it's a great idea, I called Liz, our showrunner, I said, I heard this great idea. What if we have a moment when Will steps out of this elevator as the hallucination begins, and Betty speaks to him, and then she took it a step further and was like, what if she's British? And I was like, why not? She's elegant, you know, it's Betty. And so that's kind of fun when you get to infuse ideas and inspiration from wherever they might come from. I mean, I feel like we're a project that we really promote best idea wins, no matter where it comes from. And so that was one that really worked. And then I pitched the idea in the middle of the hallucination when he goes on stage with Gina's character, Marion, and he kind of freezes everyone. And he says, you know, how about we just, you know, give me some time to kind of work through my stuff and we'll get back together. Which is ridiculous, a ridiculous request, but that was a nice moment again, even in that dance piece, to take a pause and stop. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Had you ever thought about what Betty's voice would sound like before then?
No, I never. You know, I just knew Betty's a diva. Yeah. And you know, she has things her way, and how great would it be to give her this really, you know, she's always dressed beautifully, just to give her a great voice. So the casting process for that was awesome. Hearing all of these different British dialect voiceovers come
Really?
in. We all agreed on that was the voice. It's a voiceover actress. She's British. She's from London. And so, yeah. Yeah, you know, that relationship has been complicated from the beginning of the season, where we see Will get pulled back into this case because of Raphael. And we know that there's something he has over Will, something that Will owes him. You know, at the same time, Raphael keeps sort of getting involved and getting into trouble with various things that are, I can see, you know, Will, we kept writing as we were talking about it, he keeps getting in trouble, you know, he sees he needs to do something about Raphael, but we know that there's a debt there, and he's trying to be sensitive about it. And so we will get to that coming up in the next episode, where we, you know, things kind of come to a head emotionally for Raphael's character. And then we'll also learn a little bit about what actually happened and what Will actually owes him for. You know, their relationship is so tricky because they've known each other for so long. And so whether or not that I love you was an I love you because he does love her. Whether, you know, they bonded through trauma, bonded through their history together. They've been through everything. I think there is no doubt there's love between them. Whether it's a romantic love and whether it should be that's a great question that we're always talking about. And I think it was great this season to be able to introduce some new love interests for both. You know, for Will, we got Marion, played by Gina Rodriguez. And for Angie, we got Scott Foley to come in. And their chemistry's been great. And so what's cool is they both got healthy relationships, which I think neither of them are really used to.
Yeah.
Will's not been he's had, you know, sadly, season 2, we had Cricket, who came in, and a lot of people were devastated by that. I mean, that exploded quickly. And then this season with Marion, she is a really healthy partner, and it's a nice, refreshing thing for Will, but he's dealing with the loss of Marco and a lot of other stuff, and so that's been a tough one. It is, and I mean, some people I know are like, that's just not a healthy relationship.
Right.
They shouldn't be together, but then at the same time, no one knows the other better than each other. These two just know they've been through so much. You know, a great sign of that is like at the end of episode 11, after that horrible death of Marco, who shows up at Will's door is his friend Angie, you know, and she shows up as a friend, which is really awesome and says a lot. And so, yeah, that's a debate I'm sure we'll keep pushing, pulling for a while. It's loaded between these two. It's so loaded in this relationship. And so I think they both knew this can't continue moving forward romantically. And drawing that boundary clearly is a really hard thing to do. But I think they both recognized it was necessary and had to happen. And it's painful. You know, a breakup of any kind, and I think particularly these two, which they are very much close friends, maybe first and foremost, and maybe that's all they should be. But they are romantic as well. And so that was but it's funny, anytime we have scenes together, because these characters are they're so baked with so much going on emotionally, you don't really have to do much, and they're written so wonderfully that it's on the page, and Erica and I know each other, and so when we get there, it's just, it's loaded, it's magic, I mean, I think as healthy as that option and that opportunity, and I think he does have love for her, it's just he's been triggered by this horrific event, this horrible traumatic event that happens, and Will changes him and is going to affect him for the rest of the season and maybe even into season 4. It's something that we were looking for, a pivotal moment for this character. What's something that can really throw him off his, you know, knock him down, and this does that. And so unfortunately he can't reciprocate the love that he's being given from Marion in that specific moment. Doesn't mean that door is closed by any means. And she also kind of leaves it open, and she's like, you know where to find me. But I think he's just unable to process everything at that moment in time, and he's just in a low point in the series. So, yeah. I think, you know, that choice, which I thought was very quick thinking, great writing for him to come up to have Jeremy be his CI, to cover. First of all, it was either that or prison. So I think that's the good thing. And I think we've tried to do that with every serious dilemma that we put Will in, whether it's arresting Angie. It's like this news was gonna come out. She was gonna have to face this. He was the person that wanted to do it. And what she did was illegal and was wrong. And so like, we've given him a pretty strong moral compass. It is starting to get kind of flexed and pressed on, which is great. But I think with Jeremy, the biggest thing there was that he doesn't tell Faith and he hides it from his partner. That was a real big issue that we see come up. In terms of what he came up with for a solution, I thought it was actually brilliant. I was like, oh, that was a great idea to write. I mean, I remember I was watching it. I was at home with my mom actually, and she was like, that was awesome. That was amazing. Way to go, Will. She's like talking to the screen. I'm sitting next to her like, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that relationship started it was tumultuous, and then they slowly started building a rapport with each other, and this puts a real fork in that road. There's no doubt. It makes it a real tough thing, but I think, you know, she wanted to leave him wanted to find a new partner. Amanda's not having that, and so I think they're gonna be forced to work together. We'll see if that trust can be rebuilt. That's something else that's gonna be coming up in the next couple episodes. We just wrapped last week, and it was very exciting. It comes to a head. A lot of things come to a head. The interesting thing, in addition to Will still processing and dealing with what happened with Marco, which that will continue, there's gonna be some other personal things that are gonna come up for Will, which is really exciting, that hopefully lead us to a really fun season 4. So it's nice, it's a 2-parter again. So we'll have a storyline that'll continue in terms of the case, that'll continue for the last 2 episodes. But we're gonna have some fun characters that are gonna be coming into our world. I mean, I think you'll see at the end of season 4 what some potential stories can be, without giving away too much, but I think we all are very excited to just have a moment to breathe and enjoy, like, let this season 3 air, which is still airing. It's great, and to know that we're coming back is really exciting. We'll all be circling back, I'm sure, shortly and start talking about what season 4 can look like, what's in store, what some of the character arcs can be. But I think the writers have done a really excellent job this season of getting a lot of character arcs and stories in there for Faith, for Angie. She's gonna be going through some really tough stuff at the end of the season, Angie's character. And so, you know, we just want to keep diving deeper with these characters and finding new territories. I mean, we try to be bold. This last episode with the hallucination was bold. The Marco death was bold. So I think, you know, we'll start having those creative convos and trying to see what we can do next. I think it's going to leave people definitely excited, wanting to see what happens next. And so that's the good news. And the other thing I'm probably looking forward to is I hope to come back and direct season 4 the way I did season 3, that premiere, which was it was so much fun. And it's easier when you do the first episode because I have time to prep. Once the show gets rolling, it's more challenging because Will's in a lot of scenes.